अस्सलाम वालेकुम स्टूडेंट्स। तो आज हम स्टार्ट करते हैं न्यूप्लीजिया को। न्यूप्लीजिया मींस द न्यू growth of the cell and न्यूप्लीजिया is also known as the tumor and the study of tumor is known as oncology. Neoplasia is an abnormal mass of the tissue and it has two concepts. According to the pre-molecular era, the neoplastic growth is abnormal, excessive, irreversible, uncoordinated, and autonomous in nature. Autonomous means that the neoplastic growth occurs in the absence of any growth factors or the stimulus. And the neoplastic growth is also monoclonal in nature. It means that the neoplasm arises from a single clone of the cell. And according to the modern era, the neoplasia occur because of the mutation in the genes. And these genes include oncogenes, tumor suppressor genes, pro-apoptotic genes, anti-apoptotic genes, and the DNA repair gene. And each neoplasm they consist of two components. The first one is the parenchymal part and the second one is the stromal part. तो सबसे पहले आता है parenchymal part. Parenchymal part is the functional part of the tissue and the parenchymal part consists of the neoplastic cell that are the transformed cell and the parenchymal part that determines the biological behavior of the tumor and simply it also help in the naming of the tumor. The second one is the stromal part. Stroma is the supporting part of the neoplasm and the stroma consists of connective tissues, blood vessels, inflammatory cells, and the lymphatic cell. And if a neoplasm contains the excessive stromal growth, then it is also known as dysplasia. अब हम बात करते हैं about the carcinoma in situ. It is also known as intraepithelial neoplasia. And carcinoma in situ, the neoplastic cell, they involve all the epithelial layer, but the basement membrane remains intact. And these neoplastic cells, they do not invade the basement membrane. लेट्स सपोज अगर ये हमारे साथ epithelial cells है and और ये हमारे साथ क्या है basement membrane है and if there is neoplastic growth occur and these neoplastic cells they involve all the epithelial layer but they do not invade the basement membrane, then it is known as the carcinoma in situ or intraepithelial neoplasia. And the examples include cervical carcinoma in situ or the oral leukoplegia. दूसरा हमारे साथ है dysplasia. So dysplasia is the disorder and the non-neoplastic growth of the cell. And dysplasia, the uniformity of the cell is lost, and similarly there is also loss of the cellular polarity and the structural orientation occur. And the dysplastic growth there depends upon the presence of the stimulus. If the stimulus is removed, then the dysplasia can be worse and it can be controlled. But if the stimulus or the stress continues, then the dysplasia they progresses toward the neoplasia. And the common sites involved in dysplasia are the cervix, lungs, oral cavity, and the gallbladder. अब आ जाते हैं about characteristics of the dysplasia. So the dysplastic growth there shows pleomorphism, which means the variation in the size and shape of the cell. Increase in the nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio. There is also increase in the mitotic figure occur and there is disorganized arrangement of the cell or the loss of the polarity of the cell occur. And this plastic growth we do not recognize the apical surface, basal surface, and the lateral surface of the cell. Let's suppose this is lateral, this is apical, and this is the basal surface. And this plastic growth, there is disorganized growth occur. We do not recognize the apical, basal, and lateral surfaces of the cell. So we say that this growth is dysplastic. Initially जब हम एक्सेल पे स्टिमुलस को या स्ट्रेस को बढ़ाते हैं तो the cell adapt and they shows metaplesia. Metaplesia means the change in epithelium from one type to another type, like squamous metaplesia that occur in the chronic smokers. And if still the stress continue, then the metaplesia they change toward the dysplasia, in which there is a disorganized growth of the cell occur, and the dysplasia is reversible if the stress is removed. But if still the stress continues, then the dysplasia they progresses toward the neoplasia. And neoplasia there is loss of differentiation occur and neoplasia is irreversible. अब हम बात करते हैं about the classification of the tumors. So the tumors are classified into two main groups. They are either benign tumors or the malignant tumor. अब हम बात करते हैं about the difference between the benign and the malignant tumors. So benign tumors are innocent tumors and they are localized in nature, whereas malignant tumors are dangerous tumors and they are non-localized and they can spread. Similarly, the benign tumors are well encapsulated and they are well differentiated, but the malignant tumors are non-encapsulated and poorly differentiated. And the benign tumors are non-invasive and non-metastasizing, whereas malignant tumor they shows invasion, they infiltrate the nearby tissue. Similarly, malignant tumor also shows metastasis. The benign tumor are slowly growing tumor and they can be easily surgically excised, whereas the malignant tumor are rapidly growing and they cannot be easily surgically excised. And the chances of recurrence in benign tumor they are less common, whereas recurrence is more common in the malignant tumor. And the benign tumors have regular margin and they are usually smaller in size, whereas malignant tumors have irregular margins and they are larger in size. And the hemorrhages they are less frequent in benign tumor, but necrosis is more prominent in the benign tumor. Whereas in malignant tumor, the hemorrhages are more frequent and the necrosis is less common. Similarly, the benign tumor they have good prognosis, whereas the malignant tumor they have poor prognosis. अब हम बात करते हैं about the characteristics of the benign and the malignant tumor. So the first one is the differentiation and the anaplasia. Differentiation means the maturation of the cell from the progenitor cell to the adult or the parent cell. और इसको हम define करते हैं the extent to which the neoplastic cell resemble the normal parent cell or the parenchymal cell, both morphologically and functionally, is known as differentiation. And the benign tumors they are well differentiated, whereas the malignant tumors they are poorly differentiated, and sometimes the malignant tumor they shows dedifferentiation. Dedifferentiation means the conversion from the mature form to the immature form. अब बात करते हैं about the anaplasia. Anaplasia means the absence of the differentiation or no differentiation. And anaplasia there is the irreversible and complete loss of the differentiation occur. Means that in anaplasia there will be no differentiation. And similarly, it involves the loss of the morphological characteristics and the cellular orientation. Means that the polarity of the cell is lost. And in anaplasia there will be no differentiation of the apical, basal, and the lateral surfaces of the cell, and the anaplastic growth is commonly shown by the malignant tumors. अब बात करते हैं about the characteristics of the anaplasia. So it shows pleomorphism. Pleomorphism means that there is a changes in the size and the shape of the cell. Like some of the anaplastic growth are larger in size, whereas some are smaller in size. दूसरा हमारे साथ है hyperchromesia. Hyperchromesia का due to increase in the DNA content and it shows densely staining. तीसरा हमारे साथ है the anaplasia shows disturbance in the nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio. Normally, the NC ratio is 1:1, but in neoplastic cell, the nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio become 1:1, or it become the same. And the nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio becomes same due to the increase in the size of the nucleus, and it become equal to a size of the cytoplasm. So the ratio become 1:1. Similarly, in anaplasia, there is increase in the number of the mitotic figures occur, and the increase in mitotic figures determine the proliferating capacity and the aggressiveness of the tumor. And normal cell, these mitotic spindles are bipolar, but in neoplastic cell, they become tripolar, quadripolar, or the multipolar. Similarly, the anaplastic growth consists of the tumor giant cells like Weissenberg cell, which occur in the Hodgkin lymphoma. Similarly, in anaplasia, there is loss of the orientation occur, the cellular polarity is lost, and these are the cells, and they consist of the basement membrane, the basal surface. This is the apical surface and the lateral surface. But in anaplasia, this cellular polarity is lost, and the cell grow in a haphazard or the irregular manner. Those are characteristic rate of the growth. So the in anaplasia there is increase in the rate of the growth occur, and the neoplastic cell there shows a rapid growth. The minimum number of tumor cells that are detected clinically are 10 raised to the power 9 cell and 1 kilogram. But the maximum number of tumor cells that are detected clinically in the neoplastic cells are 10 raised to the power 12 cell and 1 kilogram. तीसरा हमारे साथ है local invasion. Invasion means the infiltration or the penetration of the tumor cell into the nearby structures or the tissues. So benign tumors they are non-invasive, means that these tumors only expand, but they do not penetrate into the nearby structure. Hence, the benign tumor are non-invasive. Whereas the malignant tumor they shows invasion, means that malignant tumors they penetrate into the nearby structure. And how the invasion occur? So the invasion occur because of increase in the physical pressure at the site of the neoplastic growth, there is reduced adhesiveness of the cell occur, there is increase in the motility of the tumor cell occur, and similarly there may be loss of the contact inhibition occur. The E-cadherin protein they adhere the cell with each other. But if this protein become mutated or this mutation occurs, so the contact between the cell is lost and this shows invasion. Fourth one is the metastasis. So metastasis is the process by which the malignant tumor they spread from a primary site to a new site, which is the secondary site, and the tumor start going there. And the benign tumor they shows no metastasis, means that they are non-metastasizing, whereas the malignant tumor they shows metastasis. Most of the malignant tumor they show metastasis, but there are also certain tumors that are malignant but they do not metastasize, and they include the basal cell carcinoma of the skin, which shows local invasion, but they do not metastasize to the other side. Similarly, the gliomas, which are the glial cell tumor, they also shows no metastasis. So the metastasis there depends upon the loss of adhesiveness and the separation of the cell from each other. And similarly, it also depends upon the availability of the suitable sites like lung, liver, and bone marrow and the adrenal gland. They are suitable sites for the metastasis, whereas the spleen and the skeletal muscle, they are rarely affected by the process of the metastasis. Bakate about the metastatic pathways. The first one is the lymphatic spread. So the lymphatics are the commonest pathway for the spread of the carcinomas, and the carcinomas are malignant tumors that are epithelial in origin. It means that most of the carcinoma they spread to the lymphatics, but there are certain exceptions like renal cell carcinoma and the choriocarcinomas that are carcinomas, but they show hematogenic spread, means that they spread to the blood instead of the lymphatic spread. अब बात करते हैं about the sentinel lymph nodes. These are the first lymph nodes that are involved by the tumor cell during the process of the metastasis. And if the sentinel lymph nodes are positive, then the prognosis will be poor. But if they are negative and there is no involvement of the lymph nodes, sentinel lymph nodes, then the prognosis will be good. दूसरा हमारे साथ है hematogenous spread. Hematogenous spread, it is the commonest pathway for the spread of the sarcomas. And sarcomas are the malignant tumors that are mesenchymal in origin. Means that most of the sarcomas, they spread to the blood. And the sarcomas, they commonly spread to the veins, then the arteries. And the commonest parts that are affected by the hematogenous spread are the liver and the lungs. But there are also certain exceptions like rhabdomyosarcoma, which is and clear cell carcinoma. The rhabdomyosarcoma, which is a sarcoma, but it spread to the lymphatics instead of the hematogenous spread. तीसरा हमारे साथ है seeding of the body cavities, involvement of the body cavities. So the malignant neoplasm, they also invade the body cavities that include the pleural cavity, pericardial cavity, peritoneal cavity, and the CSF spread. The pleural cavity that is involved by the lung cancer are the mesothelioma. Similarly, pericardial cavity also involved by mesothelioma. The peritoneal cavity is the most common cavity that are involved during the metastasis, and the peritoneal cavity is commonly involved in the ovarian cancer. And the fourth one is the spread of the tumor to the CSF, and it is commonly seen in the medulloblastoma, which is a poorly differentiated neoplasm that arises from the cerebellum. And here the tumor cell they spread down to the spinal canal and the CSF down to the cardia equina, and this spread of tumor from the brainstem toward the cardia equina is known as drop metastasis. अब हम बात करते हैं about the nomenclature of the tumors. Nomenclature means the naming of the tumors, and the naming there depends upon the cellular origin, and similarly it also depends upon whether the tumor is benign or malignant. So the first one is nomenclature of the benign tumors. The benign tumors are the innocent tumors, and they are well encapsulated. Hence, they are localized, non-invasive, and non-metastasizing tumors. And the benign tumors are named by adding a suffix "oma" at the end of the cellular origin. Like the tumor arises from the fibrous tissue is known as fibroma. We add "oma" at the end of the cellular origin. And the benign tumor, they may be mesenchymal in origin or the epithelial origin. Mesenchyme means that they are derivatives of the connective tissue, like fibroma, which is the benign tumor arises from the fibrous tissue. Lipoma, chondroma arises from cartilages. Osteoma arises from the bony tissues. Hemangiomas are the benign tumor arises from the blood vessel. Lymphangiomas are benign tumor of the lymphatics. Leiomyoma, which is a benign tumor of the smooth muscle cell, and the rhabdomyoma, which is a benign tumor of the skeletal muscle cell. दोस्तों हमारे साथ है the benign tumors of the epithelial origin. They include adenomas, papillomas, cyst adenomas, and the polyps. First one is the adenoma. Adenoma is a benign epithelial tumor, and these adenomas either arises from the gland, they do not arises from the gland, but they shows the glandular appearance. So the adenoma arises from the gland include the epithelial neoplasm of the adrenal gland that arises from the adrenal gland, but they have no glandular appearance, but still they are adenomas. And the second one is the adenomas having the glandular appearance, like the tumor that arises from the renal tubular cells, which are non-glandular in nature, but they have the glandular appearance, so they are also known as adenomas. So the adenomas either arises from the gland or they have the glandular appearance. The second one is papillomas. Papillomas are also benign epithelial tumors, but they have finger-like projections, and the example include the transitional cell papilloma that involve the urinary tract. तीसरा हमारे साथ है cyst adenoma. Cyst adenoma are the glandular tumors, but they have the fluid filled cavity which is known as the cyst. चौथा हमारे साथ है polyps. Polyps are the protruding masses that extends from the mucosal surfaces, and these masses causes obstruction of the lumen. And these polyps may be neoplastic or the non-neoplastic. The non-neoplastic include nasal polyps like AC polyps and the ethmoidal polyps. And the neoplastic polyps may be benign in nature or the malignant in nature. Similarly, there are certain exceptions like tumors that end with the suffix oma, but these are not benign, they are malignant in nature, and these neoplasm include lymphomas, mesotheliomas, meningiomas, and seminomas. These tumors are malignant in nature, though they end with the oma, but they are not benign, they are malignant in nature. And similarly, the benign tumor that arises from the placental epithelium is known as the hydatidform mole, and the benign tumor arises from the neuroectoderm is known as the nevus. अब बात करते हैं about the nomenclature of the malignant tumors. So the malignant tumors are the non-localized tumor and they can spread. So these tumors shows invasion and metastasis, and the malignant tumors are non-encapsulated tumors. And malignant tumors, they are classified into two main groups. First one is mesenchymal origin and the second one is epithelial origin. So the malignant neoplasm of the mesenchymal origin are known as sarcomas, whereas those of the epithelial origin are known as carcinomas. And the sarcomas are less common and they usually metastasize to the blood vessel, means that they show hematogenous spread. And in sarcomas, the necrosis is less common, but the hemorrhages are more frequent. Whereas the carcinomas, they are epithelial origin and they are more common, and they most commonly metastasize to the lymphatics. And in carcinomas, the necrosis is common, but the hemorrhages are less frequent. So the malignant tumors that are mesenchymal in origin, we add the suffix sarcomas, like fibrosarcomas, which are the malignant mesenchymal tumor that arise from the fibrous tissues. Liposarcomas arises from adipose tissues. Chondrosarcomas arise from the cartilaginous tissue. Osteogenic sarcomas arises from bony tissues. Leiomyosarcomas that are the malignant mesenchymal tumors of the smooth muscle cells, and the rhabdomyosarcoma arises from the skeletal muscle cells. Angiosarcoma arises from the blood vessel. Lymphangiosarcomas that arises from lymphatic vessel, and the synovial sarcomas that arises from the synovial membranes. So all of these tumors that are mesenchymal in origin, so we add the suffix sarcomas. The second one is malignant tumors of the blood cell origin. They include leukemias and the malignant lymphomas. And the third one are the carcinomas that are malignant tumors, but they are epithelial in origin. And they include the squamous cell carcinoma of the skin, the oral cavity, and the vagina, basal cell carcinoma of the skin, renal cell carcinoma, hepatocellular carcinoma, transitional cell carcinoma that involve the gallbladder, and the choriocarcinoma that are the carcinoma arises from the placenta, and the seminoma which is a malignant tumor of the testes. इसके बाद हमारे साथ आता है mixed tumors. So mixed tumors are the tumors that arises from more than one neoplastic cell type, and the mixed tumor contain both the epithelial parts and the mesenchymal components, and the mixed tumors may be benign or they may be malignant. So the benign mixed tumors include the pleomorphic adenoma, which is the most common benign mixed tumors of the salivary gland, and the fibroadenoma, which is a mixed tumor of the breast. And the mixed tumors may be malignant, which include The malignant mixed tumors of the salivary gland are the Williams tumors of the kidney. इसके बाद हमारे साथ आता है teratomas. So teratomas are the tumors that arises from more than one germ layer, and the teratomas include the derivatives of all the three germs layer like ectoderm, mesoderm, and the endoderm. The ectodermal derivatives include the hair follicles, skin tissues, neuronal tissues, and the mesodermal contents include the muscular tissues, cartilaginous tissues, and the bony components. And the endodermal components include the glandular tissues. And the teratomas, they are totipotent in nature. Totipotent means that these cells have the capacity to divide into the all cells of the body, and these teratomas commonly occur in the gonads like testes and the ovaries. And the teratomas may be benign in nature, malignant, or the monodermal. The benign teratomas are mature teratomas, the malignant teratomas are immature teratomas, whereas the monodermal teratomas are the specialized type of teratomas, and these teratomas are usually unilateral. इसके बाद हमारे साथ आता है कोइस्टोमा. Coistomas are the normal tissues, but these normal tissues are present at the abnormal site, whereas the hamartomas are the abnormal tissues that are present at the normal site. And the common site for the hamartomas are the lungs. And the latest study shows that these hamartomas are the pre-neoplastic lesions. So the choristomas are the normal tissues present at the abnormal site, whereas hamartomas are the abnormal tissues present at the normal site.